I want to thank my patron supporters who are helping to make videos like this possible. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please go to patreon.com and pledge whatever you can. And if you're unable to pledge anything, you can still show your support for this channel by clicking like, playing this video to the very end, and sharing it with anyone you think might be interested in it. Boston's debut self-titled album was released on August 25th, 1976. From start to finish, the album is a commitment to a level of sonic perfectionism that I rarely have the opportunity to hear anymore. Listening to this album, one gets the sense that every single note, every single vocal inflection is important and serves a greater melodic whole. Now, it's no secret that I have often criticized albums for sounding overproduced to the point of having all the passion sucked out of the performance and the recording. But Boston's debut is an example of the opposite. 6 years were spent crafting these recordings, with meticulous attention paid to every little musical detail. And yet, nothing on this album feels tired or even slightly forced. Every moment on this record feels fresh, spontaneous, and overflowing with exuberance. The album feels effortless. It's joyous and buoyant. And because it wants to party and have a good time, it makes perfection look easy. Until you actually try to do it yourself. There was a reason why you didn't see too many bands try to cover Boston back in the day. And there's a reason why you don't see too many attempt it now, at least not without some serious musical and vocal chops at your disposal. In this video, I will not be discussing every single track on this album, but I will discuss some of them, and I will be jumping around. I will never forget the first time I heard the album's opening track, More Than a Feeling, back in 1976. I was a young teenager, and already I understood the power and escapism that music could provide, and how, just by closing my eyes and listening, I could be transported into another world entirely. The opening line to More Than a Feeling is, "I woke up this morning and the sun was gone." You don't really need the sun to be out when you're listening to this song because More Than a Feeling's opening D-sustained arpeggio with overdubbed harmonics is, in my opinion, the best musical representation of sunrise since George Harrison wrote Here Comes the Sun. And Brad Delp's vocals soar from baritone to tenor to falsetto effortlessly. The first guitar solo is played with a very relaxed restraint that other guitarists might have been tempted to break out of. During the transition into the second guitar solo, as Delp hits the high note on She Slipped Away, it becomes almost impossible to hear where Delp's falsetto voice ends and the guitar solo begins. And it's production moments like this that really hit home the song's themes of imagination and dreams. Track 5, Smokin', feels like it could have been written and recorded by ZZ Top, until, of course, during its breakdown, when it effortlessly shifts gears from a boogie-woogie organ rock jam into a J.S. Bach-inspired organ solo, only to shift back to its boogie-woogie blues roots. I mean, seriously, how many rock bands do you hear doing this anymore? In fact, I'm hard-pressed to think of any rock bands that did it previously. And while we're on the subject of J.S. Bach, let's not forget the Bach-inspired instrumental that introduces the song Long Time, entitled Foreplay. Track 3, Foreplay/Long Time, is a display of musical prowess that is all at once magnificent, bombastic, pretentious, larger than life, and yet still feels chill enough to be sharing a beer with you. And it's that having a good time spirit that makes it the perfect lead into Long Time. Now, Boston may be from, well, Boston, but throughout this debut album, there's a laid-back California chill factor even when they are pumped to 11. Long Time reflects the laid-back California spirit of the 70s, albeit an idealized one. It's a musical marriage of folk rock, hard rock, gospel music, and the Beach Boys. And this laid-back 70s aesthetic carries on into the songs Hitch a Ride, Something About You, and Let Me Take You Home Tonight, tracks 6 through 8, respectively. Track 4, Rock and Roll Band, is a complete fairy tale of a song, but like a lot of kids in the 70s, when so much of the music industry and its stars were shrouded in mystery, most of us took it as a factual origin of the band. It is the stuff that dreams are made of. None of it's true, but you want to wish upon a star and believe it in anyways. Brad Delp's double-tracked vocal on the line, "Sign a record company contract, you know I've got great expectations," has him singing in both high falsetto and tenor. And this blending is the closest I've ever heard the human voice sound like a harmonized electric guitar solo. I can imagine hearing the opening acoustic guitars on track 2, Peace of Mind, on the radio for the first time back in the 70s, and thinking at first that you might be hearing a new song by the folk rock group America, until the electric guitars kick in. Peace of Mind is the only moment on the album where the band gets philosophical. I understand about indecision, but I don't care if I get behind. People living in competition. All I want is to have my peace of mind. And in the midst of our new burgeoning online gig economy, this song's message of corporate freedom seems even more relevant now than in 1976. The cover. The album's cover, depicting guitar-shaped rocket ships fleeing from what appears to be an exploding planet, recalls countless sci-fi paperback and comic book covers, and in particular, A Certain Last Son of Krypton. But getting back to the band, in later decades since its release, I have seen Boston incorrectly reviled and labeled as corporate rock, and even blamed for creating corporate rock. It's true that the band's debut success had record labels searching for and signing imitators, some very good and some not so good. But I can only guess that certain critics with no knowledge of the band's musical history arrived at this conclusion after listening to the album and equaled excellent musical craftsmanship and production as meaning corporate rock. But the history of Boston shows nothing could be further from the truth. Album producer John Boylan even played a shell game with the band's label, who demanded the album be re-recorded in a real studio in Los Angeles, into believing that their demands had in fact been met. But in reality, only one track was recorded in its entirety on the West Coast. Aside from the overdubs, the bulk of the album was completed by Tom Scholz in his home recording studio. Tom Scholz was DIY at a time when it was mostly financially impossible for other bands to do so, and it was clear that the band was not interested in creating any kind of rock and roll mystique image about themselves. Just some really great musicians doing their own thing and doing their best to create a level of recorded craftsmanship that still holds up to this day. If I were to direct a biopic about the band Boston, it would be about the 6 years before the release of their first album. It would be about the musical journey of Tom Scholz, the MIT graduate working a corporate day job with Polaroid by day and working on his home recording studio, something absolutely unheard of back then, in his after hours. It would be about the years of working with drummer Jim Mestea, who would later be replaced by drummer Sebastian, and guitarist Barry Goudreau, who would introduce him to lead singer Brad Delp. And as director, I would want to interview Tom Scholz about his 6-year process from start to finish and try to distill that into a movie that would be about hard work, persevering over the kind of self-doubt that can grow on you after hearing the word no over and over and over again from decision makers, in this case, record labels. My movie would end with the album finally being released and the band launching its first tour as the album Boston becomes the monster hit of the late 70s and beyond. Because now more than ever, that's what I hear when I listen to Boston's self-titled debut. I hear perseverance. Perseverance and an unwavering commitment to a musical vision, and the importance of not letting the bastards grind you down. If you want to see more content like this, please click like, click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon, and please share these videos on your social media. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.